Hi, and welcome to this mini tutorial in setting up AVID Media Composer with a custom keyboard layout for cutting board Model A. We're going to start by going to the AVID Media Composer menu and Preferences, and then go into User to access the user settings. Now, although you could do this with your regular user profile, it's probably a good idea to make one just for the cutting board. So to do that, let's just go to the user profile menu and create user profile. And I'm just going to call this one Cutting Board Model A. Okay. And okay. Then I'm going to go back in, and I'm now in that user profile, as you can see. And I'm going to go and locate the keyboard setting, which by default is set up for Media Composer English United States. I'm just going to duplicate that setting by right-clicking and duplicate. And I'm just going to call the duplicate Cutting Board Model A. So using this user profile, you'll still be able to go between the original keyboard layout and the keyboard layout that supports the cutting board. So let's just enable by ticking Cutting Board Model A, and then double click to open it, like so, and go to Tools and Command Palette, from where we can customize it. Okay. Now, a few of the keyboard shortcuts that have already been set in AVID Media Composer actually work with the cutting board, so not everything is changing, but quite a few things do. Okay, so to go through these, let's go through the ones that are simple button-to-button reassignments first, and then we'll go over the menu-to-button reassignments afterwards. So going through the list, the first one will be the W key, and W needs to be remapped to the Edit tab of the Command Palette and to Extract. So Extract, which is the little symbol, scissor symbol, needs to go onto W. A needs to be remapped to Clear Both Marks. So there we are. We go onto the Edit tab, Clear Both Marks. That goes onto A. Okay. Go to In and Go to Out, which are under the Move tab, need to be mapped onto D and F respectively. So go to In, which is up here. That goes on to D, go to Out, goes on to F. Marking doesn't need any change at all. P needs remapping to Play and Play into Out. So you just locate that one, and that goes on to B. G is Mark Out. So we have to go to the Edit tab, find Mark Out, and that goes on to G. R and S need to be mapped onto Go to Previous Event and Go to Next Event, but the Source Record mode versions rather than the Trim mode versions. So if I go to Move, there are these green ones here, go to Previous Event, which will be R, and go to Next Event, which will be S. J, K and L have already been mapped. Q needs to be mapped to Toggle Trim mode. So if we go to under Other, Trim mode, that needs to go onto Q. 1 and 2 need to be set to Trim A side and Trim B side respectively. So if we go to the trim category here, we've got trim A side, that goes on to 1, trim B side on to 2. And 5 and 6 are trim 1 frame left and 1 frame right. So, trim 1 frame left goes on to 5, trim right 1 frame goes on to 6. Play around is already set to space, which it is by default, so that's all good. Now on to the menu to button reassignments. So let's click menu to button reassignment in the command palette. And the first one is the X key, which needs to be last active bin container. So I'm just going to select X by clicking on it there. And then I'm going to go to Windows menu, last active bin container. Okay. And Z needs to be set to the timeline window. So I'm going to select Z. And that goes to the Tools menu and Timeline. Like so. And that's it. That's all there is to it. We can now close the command palette and close the keyboard setting. And yeah, that's it. You're now ready to go. And you can switch between, obviously, your original keyboard layout and cutting board model layout just by ticking them here. Okay.